Hey everybody, this is Mama Hen back at you again with another video. In keeping with the theme of the month for buttermilk biscuits, I'm going to do another variation. The first one we did was buttermilk, chive, and sour cream. This one is going to be sweet potato. So you want to go ahead and roast off a sweet potato like the day before, or 2 or 3 hours ahead of time so that the potato is cold when it's incorporated into the butter flour mixture. So let's go ahead and get started. I've got 1 cup of flour. Half of it is bread flour. The other half is all-purpose flour. To that, I've added a ½ teaspoon of salt and 1 heaping tablespoon of instant vanilla pudding mix. So we're going to start off with 4 tablespoons of grated, good unsalted butter. 4 tablespoons. You want to make sure your butter is ice cold or frozen. Okay. Then I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of butter flavor shortening. So you have 6 tablespoons of fat to the 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour and a 1/2 cup of bread flour. Then you're going to go ahead and my fork. You're going to go ahead and fold the dry ingredients into the butter. You want pea-sized crumbs. And the purpose for adding the shortening is to give the biscuits more lift and tenderness. I use more butter than shortening because butter just has more flavor. Okay, once you've accomplished that, you want to go ahead and make a well in the center of the flour and butter mixture and pour 1/2 cup of whole fat buttermilk to 2 tablespoons of sour cream. And then go ahead and pour the dry, toss the dry ingredients onto the liquid and incorporate. The less that you touch the biscuit dough, the better off you'll be. because what you're trying to accomplish is a light and fluffy biscuit. If your hands are in the ingredients, not only does it warm up the butter, which you really don't want to do, you want to keep all your ingredients cold, but it toughens up the biscuit dough. So keep your hands out of it as much as possible. And then after everything is incorporated, you want to go ahead and add a half a cup of mashed sweet potato. And again, you want to roast that off the night before, a couple hours before, so that the potato can be cold once it's incorporated into the flour. And just go ahead and mix that in. To that, I've added half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Then you want to add 1 teaspoon, almost forgot, 1 teaspoon of baking powder. One teaspoon of baking powder, and then 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. These are going to be so good when they're done. And go ahead and incorporate all those ingredients. You want a sticky dough. Sticky is best. So your dough should look something like this. It doesn't matter that it's not fully incorporated, but you want a sticky dough that looks like this. To that, I'm going to add a tablespoon of honey. Or you can use sugar. I prefer honey. Just go ahead and keep stirring the mixture. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is flour the surface of your counter, your table. You want to go pretty heavy because the dough is sticky. And then go ahead and turn it out onto the floured surface. Now, I know that I told you on a previous video that you really don't need a rolling pin, but I'm going to use my rolling pin for making these biscuits. And simply because I want pronounced layers. So I'm going to roll the dough out. And again, you're going to have a really sticky dough, but that's okay. And you want to flour your hands and just lightly pat out. Using your bench scraper to fold the mixture over. And here's where I'm going to use the rolling pin. And then take your bench scraper and turn over. Do a trifold. Then turn your dough around and roll the dough out. And I'm going to cut it into thirds and stack. What this does is it adds layers to your biscuit. Turn the dough around and roll out once more. You want to do this about 5 or 6 times. Being careful to keep your hands out as much as possible. I'm going to do that trifold again. And stack. Turn the dough again. And roll out once more. We're going to stack again. Turning the dough once more. And rolling out to about a 1/2 inch thick. Into a rectangle. Now, if you look real close, you'll see, or maybe not, you'll see the pieces of butter that are throughout the dough. So we're going to make it a rectangle, about 1/2 inch thick, and use a square. I like to use a square cookie cutter, and this is the large one. Lightly flour it, and go ahead and cut the biscuit dough. Be sure not to twist your cookie cutter. That seals off the edges and it doesn't allow the dough to rise as well. Okay. Straight down and then up. We should get about 4 to 5 biscuits, and this is a 1/2 batch. If you want a full batch, you just double the ingredients. straight down and lift. I could make this one big old biscuit, but I'm not going to. So I'll get about 4.5. And there you go. So the next step is to put the dough in the freezer to chill while you're preheating your oven. Hold the line. You want to preheat your oven to 450. While you're heating your oven, you also want to preheat your cast iron skillet or whatever pan you're using. But as I said in my last video, cast iron works best. And I'm just going to clean up a little bit as I go. Now, the reason why I put my biscuit dough into the freezer is that allows it to firm up so that you don't have a whole lot of spread with the biscuits. So always chill. Always chill your dough while you're preheating the oven. And don't cheat. Don't cheat by using sweet potatoes out of a can or boiled sweet potatoes. When you boil them, you're boiling out all the nutrients and the flavor. So roast your sweet potato. Even when you make a sweet potato pie, always roast your potatoes. Never boil them. Never use that yucky stuff out of a can. Always roast your potato. Hold the line. I want to take the time to welcome and thank you all for visiting my channel. And I hope you'll subscribe, and I hope you'll like and just subscribe to the channel. It would be greatly appreciated. I'll be coming to you 2 to 3 times a week, most likely 2, but possibly 3. I baked a Italian cream cake yesterday evening. And while I was attempting to edit, because it was quite lengthy, I erased part of it. I was so disappointed because I wanted to share that with you guys. I baked it for a client. And typically with Italian cream cakes, it's a white cake, so you use just egg whites. And you add coconut and chopped pecans. Well, as I said, it was quite lengthy, and trying to edit was disaster. And unfortunately, I erased part of it. My client was so happy. And with Italian cream cakes, you do the pecans and the coconut. Now, I'm not much of a coconut fan, so I found a way to tolerate coconut in small amounts, and that is through toasting it. So I toasted the coconut, and after I frosted it, I put the coconut on top. And he was so pleased. And then I like to embellish. I like to take a basic recipe and make it my own. So I decided to add crushed pineapple. So you can imagine coconut and pineapple work well together. So I used an 8-ounce can of crushed pineapple and added that to the batter. He was just so pleased. But if I can find a way to re-edit that back into the video, I'll share that, because I had a lot of information and tidbits to share with you guys. But anyway, we'll see what happens. Now the biscuit dough is just about ready to go into the oven. One other tip that I shared with you early on in my first video is that when you have a convection oven, such as what I have, you typically want to turn your temperature down by 25 degrees because it burns hotter. It bakes faster, it burns hotter because there's a fan in the oven. Now, some folks have double convections, which means there's a fan at the top, the inside at the top, and then there's one at the back of the oven. Now, mine is just a single convection, so I have the fan at the back of the oven. But typically, because it burns hotter and it bakes faster, you want to turn your temperature down. So say, for instance, you're baking a pie at 375 with a conventional oven. With a convection oven, you want to go 350 so as to not burn it, over bake or whatever. So keep those things in mind. And with that said, it's time to put the biscuit dough in the oven. So hold the line. I'm lightly spraying my cast iron skillet with cooking oil. Now we have 4 biscuits, but my pan is only big enough to put 3 in. So that's what I'm going to bake off, is 3 biscuits. And I'm going to lightly baste them with buttermilk. Gives it a nice sheen. So I'm going to lightly brush buttermilk over the tops. And those are going to bake at 450 for 15 to 20 minutes. I just want to show you guys the dough. And then I'm going to lightly baste with buttermilk. Okay. And they're ready to go into the oven, so off they go. By the way, you want to mist your oven about 20 sprays with water. This creates humidity, which is essential for baking, giving the biscuits more lift. Humidity just makes them rise even more. So about 20 sprays, and they're off. Now you can freeze your biscuit dough, and it works. They work out just fine. You'll probably have to bake them a little bit longer at the same temperature, but you'll just have to bake them an extra 5 or 10 minutes longer because the dough is frozen, of course. So while we're waiting on the biscuits, what I plan on doing throughout the year is sharing some dishes, some barbecuing. I love to barbecue. And so it's going to be a multi-purpose channel. So look forward to that. I found these in the grocery store the other day, and I was pleasantly surprised. But just to give you a heads up, this right here. These are phyllo shells, and you can use them for just about any type of appetizer. But what I plan on doing with them is like making miniature custard pies, like sweet potato, pumpkin. So look for that real soon. What I neglected or forgot to tell you guys was that if you plan on making this recipe, the sweet potato buttermilk biscuits, a half a batch is going to net you about 4.5 biscuits. Full batch will obviously give you 8 or 9 biscuits. The size of the potato that you need for half a batch, or if you use a smaller cookie cutter, then, you know, just add 1 or 2 more biscuits on. But for a small batch or half a batch, you want to get yourself a small sweet potato, and then which will give you about half a cup of product. And then with a large or a full batch, you want to go with a medium to large potato. So just keep that in mind. If you have any questions or concerns, please leave me a comment, and I'll try to get back with you as soon as I can. Hold the line. Just cleaning up a little bit. Biscuits are almost done. few more minutes. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Sweet potato, buttermilk biscuits. I'll take one out of the pan so you can see a side view. Don't they look wonderful? And they smell amazing. Nothing like an old-fashioned, homemade buttermilk biscuit. And here you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You see that? You see that? See those layers? That's what happens when you fold the dough over. See that? Isn't that beautiful? Please like and subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate it. And with that said, bye.